However, there are those who would then polish it up with the Council of 12 or whatever it is, some kind of illuminous race of civilization who is supposed to come and whisk them away in some beautiful and glowing space vehicle. But my point here is that, in a sense, it's not doing yourself justice, purely and simply because there is a planet around you upon which you sit that needs to be fixed. And if you do not fix it very soon, you will not live. There will not be humanity upon the planet. That is actually how dire it is. Instead of sending armies to some war-torn country, you should be sending armies to the Amazon rainforest. You should be sending armies to Borneo, to all of the other rainforests throughout the entire planet to save them.
So this is the kind of drama that we find ourselves in, isn't it? Because there are humans here that are walking the negative path or polarity, and there's probably a fewer amount of those people here, but they are adamant on creating this whole fear-based structure and trying to keep the old paradigm going, trying to kind of feed the old negative machine and keep it going. And it's almost like they're hell-bent on creating the destruction, but then there's other people that are waking up and thinking, look, we need to do something about it. We need to work spiritually. And some people would go as far to say that perhaps we are conquering the darkness now. Would you go along with that?
Absolutely so, my dear friend. The point is, education will win. And that is why education is so sorely needed. That is why there are certain countries who, through fear, do not want to educate their children or their women or whosoever, because they want to go back to the Dark Ages, to medieval times. And that is quite obvious why, because that collection of people want to retain their own power. So everyone has to ask themselves whether they are spiritual or not. It doesn't actually matter. That is not the issue. The issue here is whether you accept the reality in which you find yourselves and have the courage and power that you wish to change it. That is the real question. It's not how spiritual you are, but how far you are willing to move yourself in, sometimes in conflict with others, sometimes in tandem with many, many conscious minds, purely and simply because you have the courage to speak up and say, yes, I am one of those, I am counted, and I say that this is wrong. That is what you have to do. Every single one of you have to wake up and do that.
So do you see the process as we have to physically take action as well, because there seems to be a lot of philosophy around at the moment that suggests that all you need to do is literally send light and just think positive thoughts. So I was kind of under the impression that if a lot of people changed their mindset, they changed their thinking, purified who they are completely, and worked with a loving heart, in some way it would exponentially go out, and more people would feel that, and it's almost like a grid of light would go around and help more people to lift themselves out of the darkness. Or do we also need to ensure that we do speak up as well as individuals?
Yes, my dear friend. I may cite, if I may, one of the girls, in fact the first girl that was shot of the Amish people, the Amish children, and she said, I fear not. Shoot me first. And the reason that she did that was purely and simply because she had the courage to. Because she wanted to try to save the others. That is direct action. No amount of light to a blind person will make a bit of difference, because a blind person does not see light. So what are you going to do with all of those people when you say you are going to send light around the world? What are you really doing? If you are imagining then that you are growing the love within a self, from the well within a self, from the spirit within the self, and you are directing it to the universe, Maybe not to the universe, maybe to your own world, maybe to the goodness of certain people who are in seats of power, for them to change their right minds. What I'm saying is, for all of the love that exists, for all of the love that existed in that girl who was 13 years of age, and all of the love that existed within her to say to the person, the man who was about to shoot her, that she did not fear him, that she loved him, took enormous courage. But no amount of love that she directed at that person was going to stop the activity physically. Because people who are in negativity, who are in that strata of energy, do not feel it. They are just going to do what they're going to do anyway. So part of what I'm saying to you is that, in a sense, it's a whimsical thought that you gather all of the light and send it out to the universe in order to change things. What you really need to do is to have the power to stand up and say, yes, I am, and I am being counted. I can make this change, and I will live it. And so, therefore, you are creating action, you are creating activity, so that other people will gain courage from those words, from those deeds that you create.
Yes, I mean, just leading from that as well, and this kind of goes a little bit deeper into metaphysics, and is about our potential futures, basically.
Yes.
So, for an example, I understand, it may be wrong, I don't know, but every person has got a potential to do good or bad, or to do indifferent, basically.
Yes.
And so therefore, if we're in a reality right now, and say like 10% of the people are working on their good potential, if more and more people start switching to their good potential, they're going to create actions that lead to meeting other people who are then going to move into their good potential, and so it kind of branches out that way, and all of a sudden,
is quite true.
So reality starts to switch into more everybody following the good potential.
Yes.
So that's how it works, right?
Absolutely, because the positive energy is something which is vibrant, is it not? You walk into a room who is, and perhaps there is one person or two people who are actually really vibrant, and they are having this beautiful conversation, and in actual fact it gets louder and louder because they are so excited with one another's progress. And that's part of it. You should not be denigrating someone else's progress. You should be praising it, even though it is one step. And what does it matter if it was only one step and someone else next to them made 10 steps? In a little while, that person who made 10 steps may actually have missed the point. I'm not casting my opinion upon them, I'm just stating a fact, because that's to do with the fickle mind of conscious physical people. What happens when you collectively come together to make something happen, just in exactly the same way that people came together to want to free Mr. Nelson Mandela, or to change the situation of the Wall of Berlin, or any other situation of monumentous change. It took courage to do that. It took excitement and incitement to a certain extent, but it also took imagination and the belief that grew into knowledge. Yes, I can do this.
How does this tie into the philosophy around law of attraction, where they say that if you resist something, or if you fight, you create resistance, and so therefore you're not really going to get what you need. It's almost like you need to take the path of I guess least resistance. So if you have a strong belief about something and a passion, it can come to you quicker than something that you've got resistance against. I mean, does that tie into this kind of philosophy as well?
Not necessarily so, friend. Unfortunately not, because what tends to happen in physical people's lives is that when people are trying to obtain one thing, they are usually at the default end of power, which is being emitted by someone else. Most people in the human physical psyche are actually under the power of someone else at some point in their day. So at some time, dear friend, you have to make a telephone call in order to fix something, or in order to arrange something, or because someone else wants you to do something of your time. That means that, in actual fact, if you just sat there and did nothing, and did not respond, then are you actually giving in to the law of attraction? Did the children in the Amish party, did they give in purely and simply because they thought, oh, I know, I'll give in to the law of attraction and allow this to happen, and then it won't happen? Well, it did.